Hey everyone, this is Music Tech Help Guy, and welcome to part 17 of my Music Theory for Producers course. In this video, I just want to quickly go over how to interpret and understand chord symbols in popular music. Chord symbols, we've gone over some of the basic ones: major, minor, augmented, diminished. So this example I have pulled up here is just a song I wrote, and it's drafted essentially the same way most popular music would be drafted. Let's say you went down to a music store that actually sells sheet music. This is essentially the format that most popular music is drafted in. You'll have a staff that has the voice on it with the lyrics and the vocal melody on it, and then you'll have some sort of like a chord realization below that. In this example, it's just treble clef with the chords and then some chord symbols. But in some cases, you'll see a more complete arrangement of the song in grand staff for piano. Even if like your ultimate goal is not to play the song on piano, a lot of times the song is drafted as a piano staff. This one's very, very simple because it just gives basically whole notes and chords. So it gives you more or less the freedom to do whatever you want with the rhythm. So like for instance, we've got D minor, B flat, G minor, and D minor. Again, those are our chords. And we could, say I don't want to play this on piano, I want to play it on guitar or something, I could just make up my own strumming pattern based off of those chords. So I got D minor, B flat, G minor, and then D minor again. So I could do, I could create my own strumming pattern, like and you can keep going. So let's see if I can manage to sing and play this at the same time. In this world of ruin, in this world of tragedy, you gotta take what you can get, gotta give what you can live with. There's no point in living life in the past. You'll only find yourself searching in the dark. And the next page, we've got the chorus. Chorus changes to B flat, C, D minor. So we've got, this is the time to let yourself go. Don't pull me to the ground. This is the time to let your feelings come unbound. I know it seems we're always on the road. Let me feel the rhythm of your soul. So you can extrapolate a chart like this. That's what a lot of times what sheet music is called in popular and jazz music. It's called a chart. And what the chart does is it just gives you a rough guideline for the song. It gives you a rough guideline, gives you the lyrics for the song and the chords for the song. So this is very common in popular music to see something like this. And in this song, like I said, the chord symbols are very, very simple. They do get more complex than that, and we'll go over all the different types of chord symbols. So before we get to that, I just want to show you a few more examples of how sheet music is drafted, so that you can get an idea of how we came to start drafting popular music the way we draft popular music. This is an example of the first violin part of a string quartet. This would be like basically what the violinist would get and what they would read while they were performing the music. You can see there's no chords on here because the violin essentially only plays one note at a time, with the exception of a few double stops at the top where they're playing two notes. But most classical and concert instruments, other than things like harp and piano, classical guitar, only play one note at a time. Most wind instruments at least play, and wind and bowed string instruments only play one note at a time. So there's no need for chord symbols in most classical and concert music. This would be an example of the score of that same string quartet. So it shows both violins, the viola, and the cello all on one score. So this would be if, like, say, if there's a conductor, the conductor would use this as opposed to the players, or if someone just wanted to study the score and see the relationship between the different instruments. But again, there's no chord symbols at all. So that's not typical. In seeing chord symbols is not normal in classical and concert music. And this gets really crazy when you start looking at orchestral in concert band music where you have 30 different parts going on simultaneously, with all these instruments playing. You've got multiple flute parts, multiple clarinet parts. Again, you're not seeing any chord symbols here because the vast majority of these instruments are playing one note at a time. So this brings us to jazz music, and this is really where charts start to become more like the way they're drafted in popular music today. This is called a lead sheet. Lead sheet in jazz essentially is a very, very stripped down realization of the song. And basically, you'll just see one staff most of the time. In some cases, it's just a vocal melody too. But here we just have a melody on a treble clef staff, and there are parts where you can see that there are chord symbols over the melody. A lead sheet is basically a chart that the entire band or entire ensemble would get, and the band would extrapolate and improvise the rhythms and not the melodies, but the rhythms and the chords on top of this. This is a rough guideline that basically just tells the band what melody to play and what chords to play. And then the drummer would come up with his own rhythm. The guitar player would come up with his own rhythm unless the rhythm was stated in advance like it is up here, which I'll talk about that in a moment. Notice that there's a lot of more complicated looking chord symbols, C7 over B flat. What the heck does that mean? Well, we haven't talked about seventh chords yet, but that B flat is referring to an inversion of the C7 chord. So we will talk about that today. Now, sometimes in lead sheet, you'll see things like these like rhythm slashes. They're like note heads that are like flat like that, and they don't point to a specific note, but they do point to a specific rhythm. So this is essentially just telling the guitar player and drummer and bass player, the rhythm section of the band, what rhythm to more or less follow using these chords up here. And the rest of the band or the melodic instruments would play these melodies. So that's lead sheet. That's sort of a precursor to what we had looked at, the first thing we had looked at. And then something that's come later on is, especially for rock music, is guitar tablature. It's another form of notation. Tablature basically tells you exactly what fret to play on the guitar. So like this little riff right here is 0457057. I think that's an 8, yeah, on the second to lowest string of this guitar. By the way, this is bass guitar tablature, not guitar tablature. Guitar tablature, you'll see chords sometimes in addition to the tab down here, in addition to the music. So you'll get all three. With bass tablature, you're not going to see chords because the bass isn't normally playing chords. They're normally just playing one note at a time. But tablature actually comes from way back in the day with like lute music. Lute music was commonly written in tablature. So tablature isn't a new thing. It's just something that's been used a lot recently with rock and heavy metal music to draft out riff-based music as opposed to just straight chord-based music. So anyway, I just wanted to get all that out of the way so you kind of understand the concept of some of these different ways that music is drafted, so that when we jump into chord symbols, you're not completely and utterly confused as to what you're looking at. Okay, so we're gonna have to be talking about chord symbols. Let me pull up my Logic session here. I've got a bunch of examples of different chords with different inversions, and we'll talk about how to properly notate these as chord symbols. Okay, so the top row is all major chords. I've got two examples. I've got a C chord, an example of a C chord in all three forms: root position, first inversion, and second inversion. And then I have an E flat chord over here. Again, root position, first inversion, second inversion. We're not going to get to seventh chords today because it's going to take me probably 2 full videos to go over seventh chord. So we're just specifically talking about chord symbols and inversion symbols for triads here. So the top row is all major chords, second row is all minor, third row is diminished, fourth row is all augmented, all C and E flat. So in a previous video, the last video, we talked about inversions of triads. So a C, E, G chord is C major. If you take the bottom note, the root, and you move it up an octave, now you have, it's still C, E, G, but it's just voiced differently. Now it's E, G, C, so that's first inversion. And then we said if you take the E and move that up, the third and move that up, now you have G, C, E. It's in a different voicing, and that's second inversion. Likewise, we could do the same thing for E flat major. E flat major is E flat, G, B flat. If you move the root up an octave, now we have G, B flat, E flat, it's first inversion. And then move the third and fifth up, and we have B flat, E flat, G. That's second inversion. So how do we tell our band or musician how we want them to play a specific inversion? We did learn earlier that for chord symbols, at least for major chords, all you have to do is essentially just, for C major, you just write a capital C, and that's it. That means C major. So how would we tell them play C major, but play it in first inversion? Well, what you do is you write the capital C, you put a slash, and then after the slash, you put the bottom note of the inversion. So in our case, it's E. So our chord for a C major first inversion chord becomes C over E. So it means this is a C major triad with an E in the bottom note and an E in the bass. So likewise, this one would be C over G. C over G. So again, all you're doing is you're writing the name of the chord, putting a slash, and then writing what the bottom note is. So any piano player, any guitar player is going to understand what this means. C major in first inversion, C major in second inversion. Let's go to the E flat chord. So E flat major is just E flat, simple enough. E flat in first inversion is going to be E flat over whatever the bottom note is, G. So you write E flat over G. So that means an E flat triad with a G in the bass. E flat first inversion. Likewise, this one's going to be E flat over B flat. E flat over B flat. And there you go. It's really that simple. A lot of people get confused as to what the slash chords mean, but that's the slashes mean. That's all it means. It means that you are spelling the chord in an inversion, voicing the chord in an inversion, where the note to the right or on the bottom of the slash is the bottom note of the chord, but the overall harmony is whatever the top value is. So minor chords are just as easy. Remember, with minor chords, you just put a little M next to the letter, and that basically means that it is minor. So C minor is going to be C little m. E flat. So by the way, the C minor chord is C, E flat, G. Remember, you lower the third in C major to get to minor. So our first inversion is going to be E flat, G, C. So this is going to be C minor over E flat. And this one's going to be C minor over G. And there you go. Simple enough. With the E flat chord here, E flat major was E flat, G, B flat. So E flat minor, we have to lower the third. So the G natural becomes G flat now. So this is just E flat, little m, E flat minor. The next chord is going to be E flat minor over whatever the bottom note is. So that's G flat. So E flat minor over G flat. And then the last one is over B flat. E flat minor over B flat. And there you go. It's really that simple. You just take whatever the chord quality is, you put it on the top or to the left of the slash, and then whatever note is on the bottom goes to the right or the bottom of the slash. Now, diminished triads and augmented triads are not as it's not as common to see diminished and augmented triads inverted. Diminished and augmented triads, especially augmented triads, are rarely inverted. In diminished triads, it's a little more common, but still not as common. But regardless, I'm going to show you how to do the inversions anyway, just in case you run into them. Diminished, remember, the symbol for diminished is the little degree symbol. All right, so if you're interested in trying to figure out how to create the diminished symbol in Logic, what I do is on a Mac, I hit Shift-Option-8, and it automatically creates that degree symbol for me. And I just hit Tab to move over to the next chord. So that's C diminished. So this is going to be C diminished over E flat. And the next one's going to be C diminished over G flat. Now, when we look at the E flat chord over here, we said E flat minor was E flat, G flat, B flat. So if we lower the fifth, this is one of those examples many videos ago when I was kind of getting into double flats and double sharps, where you'll see an uncommon double flat. So E flat, G flat, B flat. If you lower B flat, you end up with B double flat. So now our E flat diminished triad is E flat, G flat, B double flat. So essentially, I just have to write E and then hit, or E flat, and then hit Shift Option 8 to create the degree symbol. And that's it for that one. Then we move over to this one, E flat, degree symbol, over G flat. So sometimes these chords symbols can get pretty complicated looking. E flat, Shift Option 8 for the degree symbol, over B, and then 2 lowercase b's to create the double flat. So there you go. And you can see some of them aren't formatted correctly. You have the complete freedom to move them around and get them centered in the measure if you like, just so it looks better and cleaner if you're trying to draft this out for a musician to play. So augmented, let's do these last. Like I said, augmented chords are incredibly uncommon to begin with, and they're even more uncommon to have inversions. So remember, the symbol for augmented chords is the plus sign. So this is C augmented. So remember, to go to augmented, you take C major and raise the fifth. So G becomes G sharp. So this is C and then just a plus sign. And that's that. And then we have C plus over E. Then we have C plus over G sharp. Then we have E flat plus, E flat plus over G, E flat plus over B. And there you go. Now, one thing I have noticed is with the augmented triad, it puts the augmented symbol in the proper place, sort of superscript. It actually looks a little high. But then with the degree symbol, it puts it a little low. If anyone knows how to create a proper diminished symbol in Logic in the score, please leave a note in the comments below. I'd like to know, and I'm sure other people would like to know, because the diminished triads, especially when they get like this, start to look real sloppy with that degree symbol off to the side instead of sort of more superscript. So, all right, so that is how you draft chord symbols, at least for triads and triad inversions in popular music. Again, it's just major chords are just the letter, minor chords have a little M next to them, diminished chords have the degree symbol, and then augmented chords have the plus. And then if it's an inversion, you just look at what the bottom note of each chord is, and you put a slash, and then you put that note on the bottom or to the right of the slash. So C over E means a C major triad with an E in the bass. C diminished over E flat means a C diminished triad with E flat in the bass. So it's very simple. It's just, if you've never done this before, it looks completely foreign to you. And your guitar player and keyboard player will thank you for drafting things out like this, because you'll find that most keyboard players and guitar players who play mostly popular music are going to be able to follow along much better with chord symbols rather than just writing out every single chord. All right, guys, so in the next video, we're going to talk about one more type of chord. It's called the power chord in rock music and specifically guitar music. And then we'll move on to seventh chords and understanding those. And then what we'll do after that is I'll go into some popular songs that are out today and analyze their chord structure and show you how all of this applies to popular music. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.